Okay, so this is worksheet 2-1, and I'm going to do a couple of these with you. I'm going to do number 23 and number 25. So in this section, they are asking you to decide whether it's a function or not, and then state the domain and the range. To decide if something is a function, you're going to look at your x's. If the x's repeat, it is not a function. -2, 0, and 3. So this is not a function. And that one's done. Number 25. On number 25, we've got -2, -1, 0, and +1. Although we have a -1 and a +1, because one's a negative, they're not the same. So this one is a function. Because it's a function, I have to go list the domain and the range. So the domain are all your x values from left to right. So -2, -1, 0, and 1. And your range is going to be all your y values from the bottom to the top. So 0, 1. Now 1's repeated, but we only write it one time. And then the last one is 4. And again, we want to use set notation. At the bottom of the graph, they want you to evaluate each function for 0, 1, -1, -x, -f of x, x plus 1, 2x, and x plus h. So in class, I did number 41. I'm just going to do a few of these, not all of them. You need to do all of them. So A says we're going to do f of 0. So everywhere I see an x, I'm going to go put a 0 in its place. So 0 over 0 squared plus 1. The top is going to give me 0. The bottom is going to give me 0 squared plus 1 is 1. And 0 divided by 0 is 0. You're going to do the same thing for B, but you're going to plug in a +1. So everywhere there's an x, I'm going to put in +1. On the top I have 1. On the bottom, 1 squared is 1, and 1 plus 1 is 2. For C, you're going to do the exact same thing, but this time you're going to plug in -1. And I'll let you finish that one on your own. Letter D, they want me to plug in a letter. They want me to plug in a -x. So everywhere there's an x, I'm going to put in a -x. So -x over -x squared plus 1. A -x on top. On bottom, anything squared will be positive, so I'm going to be left with +x squared plus 1. That's all you can do. You're done. Letter E, they asked me to plug in a negative on the outside of the function. So it's -f of x. So all that means is you're going to put a negative on the outside, open parentheses, and then copy down the rest of your function. So I have to distribute this -1 to this one term, not to the top and the bottom, just to the top, and we end up with -x over x squared plus 1. All right, I'm going to do F, and then I'm going to let you do the other two without me. So on F, we're going to plug in x plus 1 everywhere I see an x. All right, so I see an x on top. So I'm going to put x plus 1. On the bottom, I'm going to have x plus 1 squared plus 1. So on the top, we have x plus 1. On the bottom, we have to remember this means x plus 1 times x plus 1. And then I've got that plus 1. So you have to go FOIL. So we end up with x plus 1 on top. If I FOIL this little piece right here, we get x squared plus 2x plus 1, and then I'm going to bring down this plus 1 at the end. Okay, so we're almost done. I just have to combine like terms. So it equals x plus 1 over x squared plus 2x plus 2. Move that over so you can see it. X squared plus 2x plus 2. So you're going to go do A through H for all of 39, and you're going to go finishing up the ones I didn't do for 41. Okay, on the back. So the back is a little bit different. They want you to find the domain for each equation. And the two things you have to remember is that you cannot divide by 0. And we cannot take the square root of a negative number. Okay? If either one of these aren't going on, if we're not dividing, and if we're not taking the square root, then your domain is going to be all real numbers. So look at 47. On 47, there's no division, there's no square root, so my domain is all real numbers. Some people write the symbol, some people use interval notation. Both of these mean the same thing. Okay? Let's go look at 51. Now 51 is dividing. We just said if you're going to divide, what can the bottom number never be? The bottom number can never be 0. So what I have to do is I have to take whatever's on the bottom and I have to set it equal to 0 and solve it. Okay? So I know if I was going to solve this for 0, I'd move the 16 over to the other side. To get rid of the square, I take the square root. My answer is plus or minus 4. Okay, here's what that means. If I plug in a 4 here, 4 squared is 16, and 16 minus 16 would give me 0. If I plug in a negative 4 here, negative 4 squared is 16, and 16 minus 16 is 0. So that means my domain can be everything in the whole wide world as long as x does not equal positive or negative 4. And that's how we write our domain. It can be everything but positive and negative 4. And you're going to do this exact same thing we just did on number 50, 49, 52, 53, 54, anywhere there's division. So now let's go look at a square root problem. Let's go look at 55. So when you have a square root, you're going to take whatever's under the square root and you're going to find out what would make it be a negative number. So what would make it be less than 0? So I'd add 12 to the other side and I get 12. I divide by 3 and we get 4. So any number less than 4 would give me a negative number. Well, we can't write it like this. That's not mathematically correct. So we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of writing it what it cannot be, I'm going to write everything it can be. So x can be everything as long as it's not less than 4. Well, if it's not less than 4, it must be greater than or equal to 4. So again, if it's a square root, you find out what would make it negative, so you solve it for less than 0. That's what it cannot be, and then over here you're going to write what it can be. If it can't be less than 4, then it's okay to be greater than or equal to 4. Okay, so that's how you do that section. Let's go look at number 61, the bottom. On 61 at the bottom, you have to do 4 things for each problem. You have to add your functions, subtract your functions, multiply your functions, and divide your functions. So on A, they want me to take both of these functions and add them together. So 3x plus 4 plus 2x minus 3. And just like Algebra 1, I'm going to go combine my like terms and I get 5x plus 1, and you're done. B wants me to do almost the exact same thing, but they don't want me to add them, they want me to subtract them. What you have to remember when you're subtracting is that you're subtracting both numbers. So I like to go distribute and just rewrite the problem. That way I don't accidentally forget that this is really a plus 3 now. So 3x minus 2x is 1x, 4 plus 3 is 7. Letter C wants me to multiply my two functions, so this is when we're going to go do our FOIL. So my first two numbers for FOIL are going to give me 6x squared. My outer numbers, the two numbers on the outside, are going to give me negative 9x. The inner numbers are going to give me a positive 8x. And the two last numbers are going to give me negative 12. And then I just combine like terms, 6x squared minus x minus 12. Okay? And the last thing we had to do is letter D. And letter D says I'm going to divide my two functions. It wants the f on top. So 3x plus 4 over 2x minus 3. Okay. There's nothing we can do with this problem. There's nothing to factor out. There's nothing to simplify. So this is actually your answer. But you have to make sure you go write down that x cannot equal positive 3 over 2. Otherwise, that would make the denominator equal to 0. Okay, so there's your video for worksheet 2-1.